Today's talk is going to be about procrastination. We're going to be talking about what procrastination is, why we procrastinate, the neurochemistry behind procrastination, and finally, I'd like to leave you with some practical strategies that you could use in your daily lives to lessen the impacts of procrastination. Now, to begin, I would like to start with a quote from the 2nd century philosopher Marcus Aurelius. Aurelius says, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for, the things I was brought into this world to do? Or is this what I was created for, to huddle under the blankets and stay warm?" Now, the first time I read this quote, it resonated with me. And it resonated with me because I like to think of myself as the person that huddles under the blankets and stays warm. So I'm not here today to act like I'm some sort of procrastination guru or motivational guru that never procrastinates. No, far from it. I procrastinate. I run my own business. I've been charged by the CRA because I've forgotten to file my taxes. Recently, I became a medical student. And for those who know, medical students are notorious procrastinators. I play chess instead of studying. I watch YouTube instead of watching lectures. I mean, quite frankly, I wrote this TED Talk when I got out of bed this morning. So, but that's the point. I'm learning. And I want to share my learning with you so that we can become better. So let's start with what is procrastination. I like to think of procrastination as the willful avoidance of that which we know we have to do. Whether it's a deadline, an essay, a report, or any task that we need to complete, we willfully avoid it. I also like to think of procrastination as a problem of getting started, not a problem of completing or doing. Now, keep this in mind because it's going to become relevant later. So let's talk about why we procrastinate. And everybody has their own reasons, but some of the main ones is because the task in front of us feels so big and so insurmountable, and it feels like we can't do it. And what this does, it leads us to this fear of failure. We're worried about rejection, about failing. And what that does is lead us to anxiety. So procrastination can also be seen as this sort of defense mechanism or coping strategy that we use to lessen those negative emotions and feelings of anxiety. So we really do make a bigger deal of some tasks than they really are. And so we got to stop doing that. So even if you don't know what to do it ignorant. Do it anyways. Even if you're scared of the task, do it scared. That's what courage and bravery is about. The only time you can be brave is when you are scared. Now, we learn by doing. That's how it's always been. Humans learn by doing. Think, for example, of a toddler or child taking their first steps in life. Did their parents teach them how to do it by talking to them? No. They imitated, they learned by doing. They took one step and then another until they could fully walk on their own. Think about the first time you kicked the soccer ball. Did you read that in a textbook on how to raise your leg, how much power to put, and then kick? No. You went on the soccer field and you kicked the ball around. Or the first time you shot a basketball. You didn't read that in a blog online. No. You went on the court and you shot the ball around. So then why would hard tasks like studying, learning, or writing a report or essay be any different? Even if we don't know, you learn by doing it. The only way forward is through the task, not avoiding it. Now, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the neurochemistry side of things. I'm sure everyone here has heard of the word dopamine before. And even if you don't know what it is, well, dopamine is a brain chemical, a brain messenger. In medical jargon, it's called a neurotransmitter. Now, dopamine is the pleasure molecule. It's released whenever you engage in something that you deem as being pleasurable. So, for example, you are enjoying a tasty treat like an ice cream. Boom, dopamine is released in your brain. Let's say you are enjoying your favorite music. Boom, dopamine. You're scrolling on your phone. Boom, dopamine. You get a text from your crush. Boom, dopamine. But you're doing your math homework, not dopamine. So, what's the point of dopamine? Why am I talking about it? Well, this leads us to our next conversation about instant gratification. Instant gratification is this concept where as soon as we are trying to get pleasure because we are bored, we reach to our phones. Because in this world, pleasure is quite literally at our fingertips. Anytime we're bored, we reach to our phone and we use it, either scrolling, texting, or surfing the web. The problem with this is that by constantly giving in to this instant gratification, we are increasing our baseline levels of dopamine. And so anytime we're trying to achieve the same level of satisfaction or pleasure, we need even more stimulation, even more dopamine to get the same level of pleasure. So what's the link between procrastination, dopamine, and instant gratification? Well, anytime anytime you sit down to study or to do a hard task, you're going to be bored and you're going to reach for that phone or reach for some other form of stimulation. And so by having those higher baseline levels of dopamine, we're basically always dopamine deficient, and it makes it harder to sit down and do hard things. So a question for the audience. Think back to yesterday or a couple of days ago to the last time that you scrolled on your phone. You remember the laughs, you remember the pleasure and the enjoyment that you got out of it. But can you even remember a single reel or TikTok that you watched? Most people would say no. You remember spending hours on it, but do you remember hours of content or hours of videos that you watched? So really think about it. What was the point of all that time that you spent? All that time you could have spent doing things that were more productive for you. Food for thought. Now let's shift gears and talk a little bit more about some practical strategies that you can employ in your everyday lives. The first strategy that I like to use is called delete your apps, not your accounts. So remember, instant gratification. Anytime you are bored, you reach for your phone. So we want to make those phones more boring. You don't want to make them pleasurable. So delete the apps. The key thing here is to make sure that you only use it for, let's say, 30 to 45 minutes a day, re-download them, indulge, have fun, connect with the world, but then delete them again. And that's the key part, because at night when you sleep and you wake up in the morning, you're going to use your phone again, go on those apps, and what's going to happen? Boom, more dopamine. And it's going to set the baseline level for the rest of the day, make it harder to concentrate. So delete your apps. The next rule is called the 5-minute rule. How the 5-minute rule works is you're going to set a timer for 5 minutes, and you're going to tell yourself that whatever task it is that you're going to do, you're only going to do it for 5 minutes. The reason for this is because, remember, we said that procrastination is a problem of starting, not a problem of doing. So what you're doing essentially is getting the hard part over with, the starting part. You're kind of tricking your brain into thinking that if I only do it for 5 minutes, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that hard. So after the 5 minutes are done, I'm willing to bet that most of you will be more likely to continue that task than if you had not set the timer and started in the first place. It's sort of like pushing a boulder over the side of a cliff. At first, it's difficult, it's hard, but then as soon as you start moving it, the boulder picks up speed, picks up momentum, and picks up energy until finally it's rolling down the hill on its own. So you want to be like that boulder with your work. The next rule is called the 2-minute rule, the little brother of the 5-minute rule. How the 2-minute rule works is that you're going to set a 2-minute timer and do whatever task it is that you think will take less than 2 minutes now. Not in 10 minutes, not in 30 minutes, not in an hour, not tomorrow, but you're going to do it now. And the reason for that is because the mental turmoil and mental weights that those tasks are going to weigh on your unconscious brain is going to be cost you so much more than the 2 minutes that it'll take to just get it over with. Now, one task on its own, maybe sending a text or an email, may not seem like much, might not be too much on your mental. But if you have 5 or 10 or 20 or 30 different tasks, it can weigh a lot on us. So get it done now. Now, we've talked about some strategies to decrease procrastination. Let's shift gears and talk a little bit about some techniques to increase productivity instead. The first technique I'd like to talk about is called the Pomodoro technique. How the Pomodoro technique works is that you're going to set a 30-minute timer and you're going to work during that time. After the 30 minutes are done, you're going to set a 5-minute timer in which you're going to take a break. Now, the reason for this is because of a psychological phenomenon called the recency and primacy effect. Humans tend to be more efficient and remember more things from the beginning and end of a work period. So let's say if we have a 2-hour work block without any breaks, you're going to forget the 1.5 hours that are going to happen in the middle, but you're going to remember the 15 minutes at the end of each session. So what we're going to do is take that 2-hour session and break it up into 30-minute blocks instead. And by taking those breaks, you're using that primacy and recency effect to your benefit to remember more things. Now, on those 5-minute breaks that we talked about during the Pomodoro technique, what should you do? Well, this brings us to our conversation about the flow state. Some of you may have heard of the flow state, and it's usually talked about in high-performance athletics or high-performance individuals. And the flow state is this state of extreme focus and concentration, where the tasks that you're accomplishing or doing just seem to be easy. They flow through you. And what you want to do is limit distractions. That's the key thing to getting into the flow state, limiting distractions, because you want to enter that focused concentration state so that any task you're doing is flowing through you. Now, the last practical strategy that I'd like to leave you with is much less than actually a practical strategy, but rather more of a mindset. Now, raise of hands here, anybody who's ever watched a motivational video or a motivational clip and then wanted to wake up the next day at 5 a.m., take the coldest possible shower imaginable, go to the gym, and then make $1 million and conquer the day. I know I have, for sure. But then what happened? The next day, you wake up, you snooze your alarm clock 5 or 6 times, you turn it off eventually, and then wake up at 12 and do nothing the rest of the day. Or maybe you do go to the gym that day. You go for a week and then you give up after that. Well, the problem with that, or the reason why this happens, is that we rely on motivation there. Well, I'm here today to tell you that motivation is not a real thing. You've been lied to. Motivation is a fallacy. It's a farce. It's fake. The most successful individuals in society are not actually motivated individuals. Far from it. What they are instead is disciplined. Discipline is what gets you to the finish line. Discipline is what wakes you up in the morning and into the gym or to complete those hard tasks. What you have to understand is that you will never be permanently motivated to do hard things. You will never be permanently motivated to do things that you don't want to do. So discipline is the key. And all of the strategies that we've talked about today won't come to fruition unless you are disciplined to make them happen. So on that note, thank you for your time.